Welcome back to The Future in Review, conversations with fire starters. Our next guest, Jerry Schwartz. He's the CEO for the company Ecellix, and this company was founded in 2018 to commercialize a revolutionary battery anode material invented at Washington State University. Welcome to the program, Jerry.
Thank you.
Yeah, so tell us about your company, tell us about your product.
Sure. Well, as we've mentioned, the company is incubated out of Washington State University. Actually, my son was the initial CEO, led the student team that was the research team and all of the efforts to fund it at the research level, and recruited me as an advisor and ultimately handed over the CEO role to me. Okay. But the technology, interestingly, lithium-ion batteries were invented in the 80s, first commercialized in the 90s, and the anode, where energy is stored, the negative electrode on the battery, was graphite from day one, and it's still graphite. So that's the one part of the battery that has actually resisted change because it's very stable and very commercially available and just very predictable performance. But there's been an effort really over the last 15 years to replace that with a higher energy component so that you can increase power efficiency. And so silicon has been the candidate for that.
Okay.
And we're silicon. We're silicon anode technologies.
And your website says you can have a 300 to a 500% improvement in anode capacity and a higher cycle life. As I understand it, when you get up into the high cycle counts, the capacity drops significantly, and you're still able to hold on to 80% of the
absolutely.
Of
yeah,
the
that is the standard when you're looking at a battery that above 80% is almost considered to be full. Okay. It's normal, charge discharge cycles. You wouldn't consider that to be defective at all. When it stops dropping below 80, then you start to experience some of the things like your iPhone that won't charge, to the full charge and runs out in a day instead of 2 days over time.
This sounds interestingly like an announcement that Elon Musk made recently about a 1 million mile battery. Exactly. That would be able to have a number of cycles and be able to do the cycles and hold on to 80%. Yep. Is he using silicon as well, or is he using your product?
He is the very first to put silicon into his battery configuration, but only in really trace elements, about 5%.
Okay.
And so it's 95% graphite, 5% silicon. That gives him the boost that, as you read, like their newer cars, 330-mile range versus other cars are 250, 280. That's one of the main components that allows that to happen. Okay. So the differential is they're using 5%. We're 90% silicon, 10% carbon, which is another form of graphite. Okay. So we've completely flipped the chemistry on the other side, but we capture silicon 11x the capacity of graphite for storing energy.
And because of your relationship with Washington State University, does that mean you don't have to go to the venture capital community and you get funding from the university?
We are eligible for funding with university and university-related research entities, government, Department of Energy, and things of that type. But we've been very successful at raising funding using friends and family and angel investors because our model is not to build a new battery. We're to be the best, basically, anode material company in the world. Okay. So we will be partnered with Panasonic and LG and GM and Tesla and folks like that.
And you have patents that protect your exact configuration of material?
Yeah, the university collaborated with us in filing the initial patent, which is a very broad application on a lot of claims, and that's in process. And then we filed a secondary patent recently, and we're doing 2 every quarter from here on out.
So I was going to ask you eventually, how are you going to get your products to market? But you're going to partner with these other companies and basically license it to them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll either sell the materials, where we'll actually scale up some manufacturing or find a partner to do it, or alternatively do something like the Tesla scenario, where we will put a part of a battery anode material manufacturing facility in the middle of a battery plant. And so our output gets handed into the production line.
Okay. So you have much improved capacity, you have a higher cycle life. Are there any disadvantages like weight or anything else?
The comparison of our materials and the energy that it carries versus graphite would allow you to reduce the weight and the size of a Tesla battery pack by about 30% and have like or better energy capacity. Okay. So it starts helping in those key metrics. And then the others is that we have actually a unique approach to building these materials to others that are in the silicon space, and there's a few others, where we start with a macro material and reduce down to what we want. they're starting with a very small nanomaterials and building up. Our approach should be dramatically less expensive.
And Jerry, what are some of your larger challenges?
I think the larger challenge is the battery is very complex. It's very complex chemistry. Yes. So the margin for error is not that great. We have recruited a world-class team of battery chemists that actually have been doing research in silicon for years. And so we brought together people that know how to progress this. So we've taken it from the university and we're actually progressing it rapidly, and we feel like we're going to have a stable solution that the industry will love.
Well, welcome to the Future in Review. What are your expectations for the week?
You know, it's interesting. The stature of the group that's here is so high that it's that cocktail room conversation where the director of NASA is at a dinner with somebody and says, "Have you heard about that new battery material company, Ecellix?" The ripple of those types of introductions is quite dramatic. So we're hoping to make some powerful friends here.
Jerry Schwartz, he is the CEO of Ecellix. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.